Okay, Jay, who's your mic?
My mic, and I know what happened last week. I know it might be old news, but the Buffalo Bills, Sean McDermott, and the week that they had, and I just hate that. I don't, and if you haven't read about what would happen, I don't really want to hash it out here, but what Sean McDermott said 5 years ago in a team meeting behind closed doors was not okay. Was
Were you
not
there?
Good. I was
Were
not.
you?
I had left this team 2 weeks earlier after I got put on IR.
Shut up.
I just
dude.
missed it.
Wow.
I just missed it. So that all went down. That whole thing happened 5 years ago. And my mic is the reporter that decided to sit on it
Yeah.
for 5 years and then decided to kick the dog when the dog looked down and waited for his inopportune moment that he felt like he had a vendetta against Sean McDermott, and he decided now was the time to go ahead and release this. And I don't agree with that. And listen, I'm not defending what Sean McDermott said. I'm not defending what he did in any of shape or form. But I have an issue with the reporter that did this as a personal attack on Sean McDermott, of his character, of everything else. Not about football. Head football coaches can get crucified and they can get criticized about their on-field performance, how they handle football stuff. This was a direct attack on Sean McDermott's character. This was a direct attack on what he stands for, and I don't agree with it. And I think that it was a really shady hit job by that reporter.
Yeah, that's
Agreed.
interesting. And so I went to journalism school back in the day. I actually left journalism school after one semester because I was already working in radio. I'm like, okay. So I tried to be like advertising,
it.
copywriting guy, but I did spend
I
one
can do
semester
this.
in
I can
journalism
do this.
school. And I think, man, like as a reporter, you're getting all this information like throughout because you're plugged in, you're talking to people, and you might like, just to pull back the curtain on journalism and sports, which is far different now than it was when I went to school 15 years ago. But you're getting all this information. You might only actually report on 5 or 10% of the things that you're told or that you hear that you see. And you raise a really interesting ethical question of, boy, I heard this really hot, interesting piece of information. What do I do with it? Do I go with it now? Do I go with it in a year? Do I go with it when the subject is at their peak? Do I go with it when the subject is being piled on?
Yep.
And I mean, I don't have a great answer other than it's a really interesting ethical question about sports journalism when you go with something.
I mean, it's one thing to, like, if you want to talk about his play calling or how he handles games or anything like that, but like a behind closed door meeting and like, hey, whoever the leak is, like, that's crap. Like that, it got handled internally, and obviously it was an issue because it was 5 years ago. But obviously this reporter's had this for longer. He didn't just stumble across this. There's no way, shape, or form that he's had this, and it just all of a sudden he's like, oh, I just heard this random thing that happened in 2019. I'm just going to talk about it now. It was a cold, calculated move by him, and I know that there's a vendetta that he felt like he needed to settle in some way, shape, or form. I don't like it. I don't agree with it. I think it's
I
a
agree.
shitty job.
And I think this kind of goes off on a little bit of a weird topic, but it's kind of like that unwritten rule that when those doors are closed, whatever's said kind of stays in there. Because at times people say stupid things, right?
Yeah.
Like everyone says dumb shit all the time. I'm not even kidding you. I do, you do, we all do.
Coaches do.
Coaches do. And the minute that people start saying what the coaches are saying inside rooms, and I like as a player, when you start finding out that this is getting leaked out, you start looking around the room real quick, like, who the fuck is snitching in here? Why are these guys in here? And you get worried because you do say silly things sometimes, and you're like, man, this could always be used against me. And I really do hate that they can do that, the media. Come back and be like, well, 5 years ago, listen, if it was a fucking issue, somebody would have said something.
Correct.
I can promise you right now, there has been things that have said that are goofy and silly that if you guys heard would be taken so wrong and out of control. And we were like, dude, that's not even what we meant. But at the same time, like, I get it. People are always going to have a mole in a team. And when they do these things and they hear these things and they hold it for later, dude, that to me is it.
And
takes
again,
away
I'm
from
not
football.
defending what Sean McDermott said.
No, but to
Right?
hold
No
on
one-
to
I
something
don't
like
think
this
any
and
of
like
us,
throw it
was
out later.
Poor. It was very poor taste. It was not well thought out. None of it. And again, I don't want to hash it out because it's a very sensitive issue. If you haven't heard about it, go read about it. I'm sure you could Google it and find it. But I have an issue with how it all started, and that's my mic is just the shoddy hit job.
There's also, I have a mic for you guys here too, but I have an actual mic. I have two mics named mic actually that we could throw.
Oh, really?
Mic. But I think I would say this, just you guys have lived in those locker rooms. I have covered football, baseball, basketball locker rooms and have been in enough that most fans and people would be shocked at the things that get talked about, the things that it is literally just it's a world full of adolescents in 300-pound bodies or 7-foot bodies.
It's its own ecosystem.
And it
fun,
operates in the way that it operates, and it's always interesting when I do believe that we need good journalism, we need good sports journalism, we need truth to surface and all those things, but also be careful when you pull the curtain back that like demogorgons come flying out at you and it's like, oh God, you got to be a little careful trying to equate like real world context with, a meeting room in the NFL. So
the hardest part was after games, trying to be calm after games, right? Like you'd be trying to rush as fast as you can. You got 10 minutes and coach wanted to say something for an extra 5. So now you're really cut down to a 3-minute shower, because if you don't, you're either so happy you're going to say something to get yourself in trouble or you're so pissed that someone's going to hear you say something to be like, we're definitely writing that in the first page of the
Dude,
paper.
I mean, and to describe, so for a post-game NFL, so media, the game gets over. You guys, it takes you a couple minutes to walk up the tunnel, up the steps into the locker room. Coach is going to talk, taking your tape off, showering. Like this is all happening in a 15-minute stretch right after the game is over. And the media is waiting outside the locker room.
Like rabid dogs.
10 to 15 minutes. You guys suffer.
I see them through the door sometimes looking like, what's going on? Hey, they're showering. They're showering. Get your notepads ready. Get your pencils out.
And media is literally crawling over like half naked, fully naked bodies with their recorders.
Dude.
And stuff.
It got awkward at times.
And tempers are high, and the McDermott thing was actually a meeting. It was like a more pregame thing.
That's why that's
like reports on it. But it's just it's a different world, and anytime you pull that curtain back, regular fans and people are shocked. But it's like, this is this is
like
the game
this
and the sport
forever.
you love, and it operates this way. So
that's great.
Don't fly too close to the sun, people. It's all I'm saying. You will get
land
burned.
so hard. Oh God.
So okay, let's go to Cowboys at Bills. Both coming off huge victories, but emotional in different ways. Like Cowboys keeping their division and number 1 seed hopes alive. Bills keeping their playoff hopes alive. Bills hosting this game.
I'll go again first. As much as I don't want to do this, because I'm a huge Josh Allen fan, I got to go with the Cowboys. The way that they came out last week and just put the foot on the gas from play one. And I'm not saying it was the cleanest game, but going in at halftime, 24-6, I was like, holy shit. Is Philly really this beat up and that bad down, or is Dallas really this good? And you go back and some of these plays with CD Lamb, dude, oh my, the connection is starting to get insane. And it's like, okay, I see what everyone's saying, and that's why I'm telling you that if they meet in the playoffs with the Niners, it's going to be a clash of titans.
Yeah, I bet against Dallas last week because I said they couldn't win the big game. I did. I can't do it again this week. I can't go against them twice. They proved me wrong last week. They proved me and you talk about what rattles Josh Allen, what makes Josh Allen throw picks, pressure when he's running, he's trying to force things down the field. I just think Micah Parsons and that group up front is going to try and really get after Josh Allen here, and Dallas is just going to be a little bit too smothering.
Wow, strategically.
Uh-oh.
The smart
you
thing
could take
to do
us right here, Mackey.
The smart thing would be to just, hey, I can't lose a point if I pick the Cowboys here. But you know what?
Okay.
I've got cojones. Okay.
Cojones.
My middle name is Big Balls. Phil Big Balls,
Mackey.
That's right. Yeah. Give me so the Buffalo Bills right now, based on tiebreakers and conference record, are 11th still in the AFC, even after the game against the Chiefs. They're in the playoffs right now. Like these are desperate games for them. And based on everything that Jay talked about in Who's the Mic, they are in rally for Sean McDermott mode right now in that locker room. Whether it works long term or not, I could still see him getting fired if they miss the playoffs. But right now, they are in rally for Sean McDermott mode.
They already said his
Give me
job
the Bills.
safe, They came out. They came out last week and said his job safe.
Sean's not going anywhere.
Wait, how many times have you heard ownership groups
No,
say,
this is one of those
totally
ones where
safe?
they couldn't go back on this.
Listen,
like
I have a lot of respect for that organization. I played in it for 2 years. I think it's one of the best run organizations in the entire NFL. They were always very truthful to me. Everyone I've talked to said they've been truthful. So I will stand with Boone on that I think what they say they roll with.
I know
fair.
that.
Now, if
who
they
was,
lose out,
oh, no,
maybe.
yeah,
But they're not going to lose
Things
out.
could change.
Right?
Yeah, no, but
Like,
if they go,
if it gets complete disaster mode and they're losing by 50, that's a different conversation. But that's not going to happen because Mackey's going to pick them to win.
He clearly hasn't lost the locker room.
Come on, Mackey.
Based on what we saw. By the way, their schedule, they still have to play. So they play Dallas. They do play at the
Miami.
disaster Chargers, Miami at the end of the season, but they get the Patriots. So they could run the table.
They could.
They beat this
what are they already predicting that Week 18 is going to be them or Miami for the division?
for the last.
Yeah.
That's going to be,
Interesting.
dude. That's another one, dude.